5. Stoic practices to silence your toxic inner voice. There's a voice inside your head. You know the one. It's that relentless bully that haunts your quietest moments, whispering that you aren't good enough, that you're going to fail, that you should have known better. It's the voice of self-doubt, criticism, and fear, and it keeps you trapped, replaying every mistake and dreading every challenge. This inner critic is the heaviest weight you carry, because you can never, ever set it down. But what if you could change your relationship with that voice? What if you could turn this toxic internal monologue from your worst enemy into something you barely even notice, just irrelevant background noise? This isn't some modern self-help fantasy. It's a real, practical skill mastered 2,000 years ago by the Stoic philosophers. They knew that the real war for our peace of mind isn't fought out in the world, but in the landscape of our own thoughts. And they developed powerful exercises to train the mind and build an inner fortress of calm that no amount of self-doubt could ever breach. So today, we're not just going to talk about philosophy, we're going to arm you with it. We'll walk through 5 of the most powerful Stoic practices and turn their ancient wisdom into a clear, actionable plan. By the end, you'll have a toolkit to start the real work of silencing your inner critic, not by fighting it, but by making it irrelevant. Practice 1. Putting your thoughts on trial. The first practice is the very foundation of Stoic resilience. It's about learning to see your thoughts for what they really are, not commands, not truths, but simply suggestions. The Stoics understood that we don't suffer because of events, but because of the stories we tell ourselves about them. And your inner critic is a master storyteller whose favorite genre is horror. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the heart of the first practice. Your inner critic's power is an illusion, one you grant it by uncritically accepting its judgments as fact. It's time to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. As the philosopher Epictetus put it is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those things. A tough project at work is just a project. It only becomes terrifying when your inner critic starts layering on judgments. You're going to fail. Everyone will find out you're an imposter. This is the end of your career. These aren't facts. They're opinions, and usually they're distorted and completely unhelpful. So, how do we fight back? We don't. We become a judge. We put our toxic thoughts on trial. Imagine you have a big presentation coming up. The inner critic starts its chant, "You're not ready. You're going to blank on your words. People will think you're a fool." And just like that, the anxiety spiral begins. This is where the exercise starts. Instead of getting swept away by the feeling, just pause. Take that main thought, "I am going to fail this presentation," and put it in the witness box. Then, you become the cross-examiner and ask 3 simple questions. First, is this thought 100% objectively true? Not, does it feel true, but is it a verifiable fact? The honest answer is almost always no. You can't predict the future. You might do great, you might do just okay, you might nail one part and stumble on another. The absolute statement, "I am going to fail," is just an assumption. Second, is this thought helpful? Does thinking, "I am going to fail," actually improve your performance? Does it help you prepare better or calm your nerves? Again, the answer is a clear no. This thought isn't a tool, it's a toxin. It paralyzes you and sabotages the very thing you're trying to do. And third, am I confusing an impression with reality? The Stoics knew we're constantly hit with impressions, thoughts, and judgments that just pop into our heads. Our job is to examine them before we accept them. The thought that you will fail is just an impression. It is not the same as the reality of the presentation itself. As Marcus Aurelius said, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. By running your thoughts through this filter, you create distance. You are no longer the thought. You are the observer of the thought. The critic's power comes from convincing you that its voice is your voice. This practice cuts that connection. This isn't about lying to yourself with forced positivity, like, "I'm the greatest speaker in the world." A Stoic just aims for what's accurate. A more accurate thought would be, "I'm nervous about this, which is normal. I've prepared, and I'll do my best. My worth isn't on the line with this one event." Your inner critic is an irrational debater. It loves drama and worst-case scenarios. Your job is to be the calm, rational judge who sees through the theatrics and dismisses the case for lack of evidence. Practice 2. Rehearsing for trouble. This next practice might sound a little strange. In a world obsessed with positive thinking, the Stoics tell us to do the exact opposite. Deliberately think about what could go wrong. They called it premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of troubles. This isn't about being a pessimist. It's a strategy for building psychological immunity. The philosopher Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would regularly practice poverty. He'd wear his simplest clothes, eat stale bread, and sleep on the hard floor. He didn't do this because he enjoyed suffering, but to rob the fear of poverty of its power. He wanted to look at his situation and be able to say, "Is this the condition I was so afraid of? I can handle this." He wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." This is the perfect weapon against an inner critic that thrives on fear of the unknown. Your critic loves to ask, "What if? What if you get fired? What if they say no?" Negative visualization shines a bright light on these imaginary monsters and shows them for what they are. This connects directly to a core Stoic idea, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a man born a slave, taught that our happiness depends on knowing that some things are up to us and some things are not. What's in our control? Our choices, our actions, our opinions. What's not? Other people's opinions, the economy, and the final outcome of our efforts. Your inner critic loves to attack you for things outside of your control. This practice forces you to focus back on what you can control, how you respond. Here's the exercise. Think about something that's making you anxious. Let's say you're about to launch a creative project, and your critic is screaming that nobody will like it. First, visualize the worst-case scenario in detail. Don't just feel a vague dread. Make it concrete. Okay, you launch it. It gets almost no attention. A few people leave negative comments. That's it. Feel that sting of disappointment for a moment. Now, pivot to the most important step. Ask yourself, and then what? So, the launch flopped. And then what? Will you be homeless? Is your life over? You'll feel disappointed, maybe a little embarrassed, but you'll wake up the next day. You'll still have your health, your real friends, and most importantly, you will have a choice about what to do next. This is what's in your control. You can learn from what went wrong. You can start the next project armed with new knowledge. You can define this project's value not by its reception, but by the effort you put in. You can choose to respond with resilience. By rehearsing failure in your mind, you do two things. First, you realize the worst case is rarely a catastrophe, just an outcome you can handle. This strips the fear of its power. Second, you shift your focus from the uncontrollable outcome to your controllable response. Your energy goes from worrying to preparing. The inner critic wants you to live in fear of the storm. The Stoic trains for it. The premeditation of troubles isn't about expecting failure. It's about building an unshakable confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. And that's a confidence your inner critic can never touch. Practice 3. The obstacle is the way. The third practice is a total shift in perspective. It's the art of turning every setback, every mistake, and every attack from your inner critic into a source of strength. As the modern Stoic author Ryan Holiday put it, the obstacle is the way. This idea comes straight from Marcus Aurelius, who wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that. It's like mental alchemy. It means that inside every difficulty there's a hidden gift. The very things that seem to be holding you back can actually propel you forward if you choose to see them that way. Your inner critic is an expert at framing things to break your spirit. It says, "You made a mistake, so you're incompetent. You were rejected, so you're unworthy." Stoic reframing is the antidote. It teaches you to look at the exact same event and ask a different question: how can I use this? Imagine you applied for a promotion you wanted badly, and you didn't get it. The inner critic immediately goes on the attack. "I knew it. You're not good enough. You'll be stuck here forever." This story leads straight to despair. Now, let's apply the Stoic frame. The obstacle is not getting the promotion. How can this become the way forward? First, it's a chance for honest self-assessment. Without the critic's poison, you can ask for feedback and maybe discover a blind spot you never knew you had. The rejection is no longer a verdict. It's a diagnosis. The obstacle has literally shown you the path to getting better. Second, it's a chance to practice resilience. Life doesn't always give you what you want. This is a training opportunity for your character. Can you handle disappointment with grace? Can you still do your job with excellence? Every time you choose to act with virtue in the face of difficulty, you strengthen your inner citadel. Third, maybe this rejection is a sign that this wasn't the right path after all. Maybe this closed door will force you to look for open windows you never would have considered, other companies, or even a completely different career that could make you happier. The exercise here is a reframing journal. Make 2 columns. In the first, write down the event just as your inner critic describes it. For example, "I completely bombed my sales pitch and lost the client. It's a total disaster." In the second column, reframe it. Look for the opportunity. What did this event make possible? You might write, "I now have a perfect case study of what not to do. I can analyze my pitch to see where it went wrong. This is a chance to practice humility and integrity by telling my boss what happened. I'm now free to find a client who's a better fit. This experience just made me a more seasoned salesperson." This isn't about pretending it doesn't sting. The Stoics were realists. It's about recognizing that the event itself is neutral. Our framing is what makes it a disaster or an opportunity. Your inner critic wants you to be a victim. Stoicism teaches you to be the architect of your response. Every time you hear that voice label something as bad or a failure, pause and ask yourself, what if this is happening for me, not to me? What gift is hidden inside this obstacle? When you practice this shift, you drain the critic of its power. Its insults become your fuel. Its obstacles become your path. Practice 4. The kind and rational roommate. There's a popular misconception that Stoicism is all about being harsh and emotionless. That couldn't be further from the truth. Stoicism is about applying reason to everything, and that includes how you treat yourself. This practice is about applying a specific kind of Stoic kindness to your inner world. Seneca said we should associate with people who are likely to improve you. But what about the person we spend all our time with ourselves? The voice in our head is our constant companion. If that companion is cruel and abusive, how can we possibly thrive? Being a Stoic means being a good friend to yourself. Let's be honest, your inner critic is not a good friend. It's a terrible roommate. Imagine someone following you around all day, pointing out every flaw. When you make a small mistake, they hiss, "You're so stupid." When you decide to rest, they call you lazy. You would never tolerate that from another person. You'd tell them to get out. So why do you tolerate it from yourself? Stoic self-compassion isn't about making excuses. It's about being rational, and berating yourself after a mistake is fundamentally irrational because it doesn't work. Shame and self-hatred don't inspire change. They inspire paralysis. Rational kindness and encouragement are far more effective. The exercise for this is called the friendship test. It's simple but incredibly powerful. The next time your inner critic attacks, pause and ask yourself one question. Would I say this, in this exact tone, to a good friend I respect? Let's say you're trying to build a new exercise habit, and you hit the snooze button for the third time this week. The critic's voice is sharp. "You are so undisciplined. You have no willpower. You'll never change." Now, apply the friendship test. Imagine your best friend calls you, feeling down. They say, "I missed my workout again. I feel so lazy." Would you really reply, "You sure are. You are undisciplined and have no willpower"? Of course not. That would be cruel and useless. Instead, you'd probably say something like, "Hey, it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. You've been really stressed, and your body probably needs the rest. Maybe going from 0 to 7 days a week was too much. Why not try something smaller, like just a 10-minute walk tomorrow? Don't give up on the goal. Let's just adjust the plan." That is the voice you need to cultivate for yourself. It's rational, compassionate, and focused on solutions, not shame. It's both kind and strict, kind in its tone, and strict in its commitment to the goal. When you catch the inner critic, stop it. Then, deliberately, speak to yourself as you would a friend. Instead of, "I'm so lazy," try, "This habit is harder than I thought. What's one small adjustment I can make to set myself up for success tomorrow?" This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about raising the quality of your internal support system. Justice is a core Stoic virtue, and that means treating people fairly, including yourself. By becoming a kind and rational friend to yourself, you're not abandoning discipline. You're choosing a wiser, more effective way to achieve it. Practice 5. The inner watchtower. This final practice is what makes all the others possible. It's the art of simply paying attention. The Stoics called this prosoche, a state of continuous, vigilant awareness of your own thoughts and impressions. It's about building an inner watchtower, a high vantage point where you can observe the traffic of your mind without getting run over by it. Epictetus warned his students that if you relax your attention, you can't just pick it back up whenever you want. He knew that the inner critic, like a weed, thrives on inattention. It operates on autopilot, whispering its poison when you're distracted, tired, or just scrolling mindlessly. You can't challenge a thought you don't notice. You can't reframe an obstacle you aren't aware of. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Without it, you're just a slave to your old mental habits. Your inner critic loves when you're on autopilot. Think about when it's most active. Often, it's when you're doing something mindless, like scrolling social media. You see curated images of success, and a low hum of comparison begins. "My life is so boring. I'm so far behind." You don't even notice the specific thoughts. You just start to feel worse. The critic has done its work silently, in the dark. The practice of prosoche is about turning on the lights. It's about watching your own mind at work. The exercise for this is the pattern interrupt. It's a form of active mindfulness. Here's how it works. Set 2 or 3 random alarms on your phone for the day. Label them something simple, like check in. When the alarm goes off, just pause for 30 seconds and ask yourself, what story is my mind telling me right now? That's it. You don't have to fix the story or judge it. You just have to notice it. Maybe the alarm goes off while you're writing a difficult email. You pause and realize the story is, I sound like an idiot. They're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. You simply label it, that's the imposter syndrome story. Then you go back to writing. Maybe it goes off while you're stuck in traffic. You pause and notice the story is, this is ruining my day. Everything is going wrong. You label it, there's the catastrophizing story. What this does is create a tiny gap between the thought and your reaction. In that space, you find your power to choose. The simple act of noticing a thought separates you from it. You are no longer the person who is an imposter. You are the person who is observing a thought about being an imposter. This is the essence of self-mastery. With each pattern interrupt, you train the watchman in your inner tower. Over time, you get better at catching the critic's first moves in real time. You start to notice that subtle shift in your mood that signals its arrival, catching the negative framing before it takes hold. The inner critic's greatest strength is its invisibility. This practice exposes it. It shows you that the critic's voice is just one channel playing in your head, and you are the one holding the remote. This is the ultimate power, not to destroy the critic, but to simply change the channel. Conclusion. We've walked through 5 ancient practical tools for reclaiming your inner peace, putting your thoughts on trial, rehearsing for trouble, finding the opportunity in the obstacle, being a kind friend to yourself, and building your inner watchtower of awareness. Your toxic inner voice is a habit, not a fact of life. It's a deeply ingrained mental pattern, but like any pattern, it can be overwritten. These 5 practices are your training. They take daily effort and patience, but they work. That voice may never disappear completely, but that was never the point. The goal is to change your relationship with it. With consistent practice, its loud shouts will start to fade. They'll become whispers, and eventually, those whispers will become an irrelevant background noise you no longer need to obey. You'll finally realize that you are not the voice. You are the one who hears it. You are the one who chooses, and you are the one in charge. Call to action. If you found these Stoic practices valuable, giving this video a like helps spread this knowledge to others who might need it. For more practical wisdom from ancient philosophy, make sure you subscribe. And now, a question for you, and I'd love to see your answer in the comments. Which of these 5 practices are you going to try first? Putting your thoughts on trial, rehearsing for trouble, reframing the obstacle, being a friend to yourself, or building your inner watchtower. Sharing your intention is a powerful first step. Thanks for watching.